Start your day with It's the Business. Here's Phil Dobbie.
Well, it was a bad day for Bitcoiners yesterday, with it losing 15% of its value in one day. Of course, those Bitcoiners assume it's going to come back, but will it actually eventually be outlawed?
Outlawed the way gold was outlawed. And you're watching that question arise in India today.
Plus, want to make a bit of money on the side? Our personal finance guru, Jasmine Birtles, is back with an abundance of ways that you can supplement your income, although admittedly none of them are going to make you terribly rich, like taking part in research panels.
We all had to say what we thought about two types of adverts. And then you get given cash money in an envelope, 50 quid, on your way out. And I thought, what is not to like here, frankly? Yeah.
Well, we all know the main reason she wants to go to research panels is that people will sit and listen to her for a long time. Also today, Brexit. It's not been that bad, apparently.
As we all know, only time will tell, but so far I'd argue that the evidence has been pretty positive. So despite a very rocky start where, as others have said, we sort of launched into the end of the transition period without a clear idea of what was happening, there hasn't been as big a fall in trade as some people feared. Well,
exports to the EU are still 20% down at the end of February. How bad did we expect it to be? Well, look at those numbers today. This is Monday, the 19th of April, 2021. Good morning.
And now, it's The Business, making sense of it all with Phil Dobbie.
Now, it's not a great start to the week. If you hold Bitcoin, you lost 15% in a day yesterday. I'm sure you'll think it'll pick itself back up, given Bitcoin has just about doubled so far in value this year. So why the losses yesterday? Well, it does have these big, it is volatile. It does have these big drops, and then it does seem to rise again. How long is it going to keep doing that for? Well, yesterday the excuse was because the US Treasury is reported to be cracking down on money laundering through digital assets. Now, these are unsubstantiated reports, I have to say, but it was on Bloomberg, it was in the Daily Telegraph and other news sites as well. So is that likely that the government would want to do that? Well, obviously the answer is yes, given it's the one thing they can't really keep track of, cryptocurrencies, because they are decentralized currencies by their very means, by their very essence. So if you have some ill-gotten gains from that drug syndicate that you're running on the side. And incidentally, we are talking about side hustles today. Hopefully, drug dealing isn't one of your side hustles. We've got much less harmless side hustles coming up on the program today. But if you've made a lot of money from crime, well, buy up Bitcoin rather than buying up a London property, because that's getting harder. And authorities can't really see what you've got in Bitcoin because it is a non-centralized currency. So, think of what authorities are doing with real money to keep an eye on it. For example, the tax office in the UK now, they want digital records. So if you're self-employed, you've basically got to submit access so that they can see all your banking records, your bank feeds, so they can make sure you're not getting money in that you're not claiming as income. So they're snooping everywhere. Then there's the other issue that if cryptocurrencies become mainstream, central banks have no control over the value of money. They can't practice the monetary policy that keeps interest rates where they are and stops inflation. If it was just Bitcoin with a controlled amount of money in circulation, which Bitcoin is, well, pretty quickly you'd see that money, that wealth accumulating into a certain section of society, and no ability for money to be created would mean that it wouldn't be possible for the government to overspend, for example, to help the poor. So can Bitcoin go on without regulation? It is bound to face more regulation to stop money laundering, but also to control its impact on sovereign currencies. Now, Bitcoiners hate that, of course, because they hate the idea of sovereign currencies, the government taking control of our money. Somehow they want money to be like the Wild West, which is a crazy idea. Here's Ray Dalio, who's an American billionaire. He founded Bridgewater, which is one of the big hedge funds. So, of course, Bitcoiners will hate him as well because they hate hedge funds. He reckons governments will probably outlaw Bitcoin.
The history was, banks always used to exist. And then with the Bank of England, they decided that it was in their interest to have a monopoly on banking at a country. And so what we did is every country treasures its monopoly on controlling the supply and demand. They don't want other monies to be operating or competing because things can get out of control. So I think that it would be very likely that you will have it under a certain set of circumstances outlawed the way gold was outlawed. And you're watching that question arise in India today. India today is making the move to outlaw possession of it.
Yeah, that's right. The Indian law would give the holders of cryptocurrencies up to 6 months to liquidate, after which their penalties would be levied. This is a bill that is before the Indian Parliament that would find anyone trading, mining, or even just holding cryptocurrencies in breach of the law. It's already the case in China. You can't mine it or trade it, but you can hold on to it. That was Ray Dalio on Yahoo Finance on a program called Influencers with Andy Serwer. It was from a month ago, long before we saw this supposed step up in regulations by the US government, which may or may not happen. Well, can Bitcoin just carry on unabated? I think it is unlikely. We'll find out this week whether the US government is wanting to crack down on it. It's going to be an interesting week from that point of view. Now, Brexit. This is our first show since the UK trade numbers came out on Thursday. Why? Because we didn't have a show on Friday. We're ditching the Friday show to give you more time to explore other things to do with your life. Also, to allow me to do more things with my life, because I'm trying to write a book and it was just going nowhere because of this podcast. So I need at least one day off a week. So Friday is going to be it. So Monday to Thursday now. But look, on Thursday, we saw the UK trade numbers. UK exports to the EU. Well, this has been reported that they fell 41% in January compared to December, whereas exports outside the EU were actually up 1.7%. So you could look at that and say, ignore COVID. This is clearly related to us exporting goods to the European community. Now, this is equally as disturbing is the way that the bounce back was reported, because it did come back a little bit in February. Which many are saying is a sign that it was only transitory. It was only 1 month, because in February it was up 47%. I did hear one national broadcaster that begins with B, with one commentator saying, well, it was down 41% in January. It's up 47% in February. Therefore, it's ahead. It's a bit of a worry. Someone obviously failed maths at school. Let's call it 50% down and 50% up. If something's 50% down, it goes from 100 to 50. If it's 50% up on that, then it goes from 50% up on that is up to 75. So you're still 25% down, which is where we are. We're about 20% down on where we were in December. Still, in other words, we've lost 20% of our export trade to the EU 2 months in. Are we going to get that back? Well, this is nothing to be worried about, says Julian Jessop. He was one of the witnesses at the UK Trade and Business Commission inquiry on Thursday into the UK-EU trade relationship. He was talking it all up.
I personally think the assumption of a 4% long-term hit is too high for a number of reasons. I mean, you can go through the chain. I mean, it assumes for a start that the increased trade barriers have a far bigger cost than I think is actually likely. And that increase in cost then has a far bigger impact on overall trade flows than I think is likely. And on top of that, there's a strong link assumed between the impact on trade and the impact on productivity. So I think at every stage, the impact is exaggerated. And of course, there are lots of other things going on as well. I think some of the benefits of Brexit are underestimated, particularly the benefit of doing free trade deals with the rest of the world and all the other stuff that Brexit is about, including the opportunity for better regulation. So I think that 4% figure is too pessimistic. Now, as we all know, only time will tell. But so far, I'd argue that the evidence has been pretty positive. So despite a very rocky start where, as others have said, we sort of launched into the end of the transition period without a clear idea of what was happening. There hasn't been as big a fall in trade as some people feared. And the other important thing is that a lot of this, of course, is about investment and confidence and things like that. And there has been a marked improvement in not just public sentiment towards Brexit, but also sort of business sentiment. Brexit concerns have dropped way down the list.
Do you think that might be because a pandemic has gone right to the top of the list, perhaps? Maybe that's why people are less concerned about Brexit. But I think there is quite a bit of concern, given that we've seen those very unhealthy numbers for January and February. But to understand the man, this is Julian Jessop. He is an economics fellow at the Institute of Economic Affairs, a free market think tank. So, it's interesting, isn't it? When we think free market, we'd actually be thinking, we want free and open trade with Europe. That's free market to me. But instead of trying to impose tariffs and closing the market, we had a free market. But anyway, he was also an economic advisor to the HM Treasury, so we understand where he's coming from, trying to talk it up. But it's interesting, isn't it, when you hear people like him saying, well, we've got this modelling from the Office of Budget Responsibility, that 4% that he was talking about came from them, and saying, well, it's not going to be as bad as that. Well, I thought it was supposed to be good. At no point did he actually say, well, it's not going to be minus 4%. It's going to be a positive 4%, for example. He's just saying, well, it's not going to be as bad as minus 4%. It's not supposed to be bad at all. It's supposed to be good, isn't it? I thought that was the idea. Anyway, well, look, we will talk more about this. Vicky Price was also one of the talkers at that trade and business session last Thursday. So maybe we should get her take on it as well. One thing that Julian didn't talk about was the fact that this bounce back that we have seen has been largely large businesses, so construction businesses, car companies, people like that. The people who are really taking the hit, and I'm sure they're not the people he was talking about as being confident about Brexit, are small businesses, because they're basically they won't be able to afford the paperwork and handle all the administration and all the charges as well if they have to pay any form of duty. They're going to lose out completely. And look, they account for 26 billion of the money that we export comes from small businesses of less than 50. 71 billion come from large businesses over 250, but 26 billion come from small businesses, and 10 billion of that went to the EU. So if you imagine small businesses losing more than a third of their business, if we assume that, almost all of it is going to have disappeared because it's going to be so hard for them to manage it. Whereas the large businesses, that 71 billion, that's probably fairly safe. So hypothetically, if we saw all large businesses keeping all their EU trade, and medium businesses lost half of it and small businesses basically lost all of it, then our trade would fall by 25%, which is ballpark where we are now, a couple of months in. You'd hope it's going to pick up from that, but you can never be quite sure, can you? So watch that one, because how we recover from Brexit as COVID clears the way and we start to get more visibility to the impact of Brexit, well, I hope Boris Johnson's got some good answers on that one. Now, let's move on and talk side hustle, because everyone likes to earn a bit of money on the side, don't they? I mean, sometimes it can be quite lucrative. For example, if you're a former politician or a civil servant, for example, and you can earn a bit of money on the side by lobbying Parliament to do favours in ways that are going to increase your shareholdings until it all falls in a heap. I mean, why wouldn't you? Unless you've got a conscience, of course, or you've got that other word, integrity. So let's look at other ways, things you can do if you've got a bit of spare time and you're not a politician. I think I might be starting to ramble now. So let's bring in Jasmine Birtles, our personal finance expert and commentator from moneymagpie.com for a richer life. That's the tagline on your website. Funnily enough, that was David Cameron's motto too. Because we all want a richer life, don't we?
Well, I like to think so. And the nice thing about calling it a richer life is it covers a multitude of sins. So you're talking richer in terms of money, you're talking richer in terms of relationships, in terms of happiness. You can have all sorts of benchmarks there. So if somebody says, "Do you feel richer now, having been with Money Magpie?" You go, "Well, I've got more friends." So,
Yeah, exactly. Richer for the experience. Exactly. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Well, yeah. And in fact, that's one of the things I'm loving about this podcast is that I'm meeting many new people. Like, we wouldn't have spoken if it wasn't for this. So, yeah. So now, look, we're talking about your website. We're going to steal one of your articles because I enjoyed it so much, about the side hustle. So, first of all, this expression, I'd never heard it before, side hustle.
Oh, well, do you know, you hear it all the time now. I think it's it's an American thing, really, because I've been writing about making money on the side, and a side earner. I think a British version would be side earner, but side hustle is an American. It's a bit more aggressive. It's like hustle, get the cash in.
And you're right, it has had this spike on Google. November, I went and checked Google searches, and November last year. I think that's because we went into lockdown again, didn't we, around then? And the weather wasn't so good. We were all sitting in our house thinking, what do I do? What can I do to make a bit of money? So hence everyone went looking. Hopefully they found your website.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping so, because the thing is, I set up Money Magpie about 10 years ago, and part of my idea was to give it an holistic kind of approach. So not just about saving money, because there are lots of websites. Well, there weren't that many at that time, actually, but there were, ones about saving money, but nothing about increasing the income that you have in your household. And I've been freelance all of what I laughingly call my career. And I've known all sorts of people, like actors, writers, comedians, whatever, who have all had side hustles. That's what's kept food on the table for them. So for people like me and my friends, having a side hustle is what keeps you going. It's not just a bit of extra to have a holiday, which, by the way, is also a very good reason to have a side hustle.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, because some of these ways, perhaps you're not going to make enough money to make a living out of, but then actually, yes, as a way of putting money aside for those days when perhaps we will go to countries where they speak foreign languages, and be excited about doing that. And it's not just Wales we're talking about. It's,
exactly, not just Wales. And the other thing about side hustles I've always found is, they're fun quite often. Because the thing about work, any sort of work, you would hope, is it's not just about making the money. It's about meeting people, going somewhere, sometimes being forced to go onto a plane and go to somewhere where they speak foreign languages, not Wales. I found, for example, I did when I was doing quite a few side hustles, focus groups was a nice one. Still is, and can be better once things open up. Focus groups are great. I remember I used to go to this just basically a room above a pub in Soho, and you'd sit around a table, you'd be fed food and drink, and then asked about your view on some particular shampoo, or I think there was one. I had to say what I thought. We all had to say what we thought about two types of adverts, and then you get given cash money in an envelope, 50 quid, on your way out. And I thought, what is not to like here?
I've sat on the other side of the window, because sometimes they have sort of one-way windows in those rooms. I've sat on the other side for companies I've been working for, watching people and giving that and handing that money. I've been the giver rather than the taker in that experience.
Excellent.
But yeah, I mean, it is very useful for businesses, actually, because all the quantitative research that's done, I mean, that's what they call qualitative research, isn't it? So they're trying to drill down and find out really what it is that's motivating people to buy a particular product against another. You often get very useful information out of that. But how did you get onto those? How do you find?
Well, good point. Yes, this is the thing, because there are all these things that are out there. You just need to know about it. So obviously, you come to moneymagpie.com. We've got literally, we have hundreds of articles on different ways to make money on the side, and we mentioned some of the agencies. Now, the one that comes to mind, in fact, the one I used to use is Saros Research, SAROS research.com. And it's one of those sites you fill in like pages of questionnaires about, age, height, where you live, what your income is, all that sort of thing. Because as you know, qualitative research, they often ask for very specific types of people, sort of certain age, who have a certain income and have certain health issues or whatever. They are actually looking for different types of people. And then you wait for the jobs to come up and then, put yourself forward for them. Right. It's similar with mystery shopping, which again, I used to do occasionally. And I found out about that through my friend April, who's another journalist. And of course, being a journalist, not earning very much. And I remember we went to Pret a Manger and she had these vouchers. And I said, oh, where'd you get those from? And she said, oh, I do mystery shopping. I said, you what? And so she put me in touch with this agency. Again, there are a few big agencies that do mystery shopping. And you answer all these questions. They make you do a sort of a clever questionnaire now with these, because there's so many people that want to do it. And if you don't get it, you don't get in. But if you can, then again, you answer the sort of person you are, where you live, etc., etc. And then you see what jobs come up. And I would just always go for the food-related jobs. So testing Pret-a-Manger sandwiches. I used to get like 30 quid to spend on having
that would be fabulous.
Sandwiches. Yeah, it was great. Yeah. And all they want you to do is do the sort of thing. You see, I'm quite opinionated anyway. So if you're an opinionated person, it basically gives you an outlet to go, well, I didn't think much of the tuna ones. Actually, I think you need to put more in there. And
all that, and you get money as well. I mean, for you, it would just be an incidental. I'm getting paid because I get free sandwiches and I get to give my opinion. But what about also surveys? So people like YouGov, for example. Now, I must admit, I've been down this road, but you spend out. They say we're going to give you so much money per survey. I think I'm up to about £5. I feel like I've spent 40 hours.
Well, exactly. And in all honesty, that is the way I feel. So we do find that surveys are very popular across the internet. They're popular, but to me, it's too much time and effort for too little return. And that is something you have to keep in mind, particularly as I'm told that Bill Gates has bought up YouGov and Ipsos. I'll have to check that out. But well, that's what I've heard. But mind you, all sorts of stuff goes around about Bill Gates, but I'm not a huge fan, so I'm thinking I'm not doing anything if he's connected. Really?
What have you got against Bill Gates?
Oh, bless him! Really, yeah. Good point. What would I have against somebody who's backs practically every NGO across the world? It seems. I think, is there anything that he doesn't have his fingers in? Can he just have a bit of a rest every now and then and go? Actually, no, I won't put my finger in that particular pie. I'll let them do their own thing. I'm very tired.
He's too much of a busybody. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, I think so. It's like not so much even the man who would be king, it's the man who would be God, almost. It's like, yes, everybody has to be vaccinated.
I think we've really touched a nerve here, haven't we? I think just going to abandon the whole of the rest of this conversation and work our way through your complex against Bill Gates.
Irritations. Someone who has to control the world.
Now, tell me about, so another one of your suggestions is betting. And I'm not a big fan of betting at all, but I love this idea of beating the gambling companies at their own game, really, is what you're talking about.
Well, this is it. Yeah, because, it took me a long time to include matched betting, as we call it, matched betting on Money Magpie, because I never gamble. I mean, literally, I never gamble. I don't understand it. I don't understand why it's fun. And I think it is so harmful. However, as you say, with matched betting, the idea is that you use that you get free with all these betting companies online. You get a few free bets. Yeah. A typical offer might be bet £10, get £30 free bets.
As they try and lure you in, absolutely.
Yeah. So you kind of what you do is you use these free bets to kind of bet against them. So you bet on one thing winning and losing at the same time, and it's not cost you anything. So you are guaranteed to make money on that.
Because even odds. So if you bet the £30, you're going to get £30.
Yes.
Right. And as far as they're concerned, you've had a bet.
Yeah, exactly. Right. The problem, the only problem with it,
and then you draw the money out at that point. Is that what you're saying? So they've given you £30. You've got £30 back, and you just pull it out. You just cash it in. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, you certainly can. Yes, you can just do that. And there are lots of bookmakers around the country who've got similar offers. So you just keep going from one offer to the next and scoop up.
Are they not onto it? Haven't they got caught onto this?
Well, you think they would, but I think, it's like if these sort of spammers that send out like millions of emails and they only need 1% to work to make it worth it. And because the problem with match betting is if you get hooked, and because that's what they're always hoping. Well, that's why they give you the free bets in the first place. You get a free bet, you get all excited. You think, oh, I'll just put a tenner in myself, and then that'll be, and then I'll just put another tenner. So that's what they are probably getting. They probably have enough people who do that to make it worth it. So this is why we always say only do this if you really are disciplined and you're not going to just sort of flip into actual betting, because that's just horrible. Yeah,
well, exactly. Well, if you are the sort of person who will leave stuff hanging in a shopping cart, as you told us, I think last time we were speaking, because you know you're going to get that offer of 10% off, then this is one for you, because you're not going to go down that gambling road, because you'll be enjoying the fact that you're getting one back at them, won't you?
Exactly.
So drop shipping. So this is when you sell stuff that sells cheaply and I know this goes on a lot. So you can go to AliExpress, for example, and buy stuff on the cheap, and then this is people packaging up and reselling it. And look, I'm looking at AliExpress. They've got a lot of old tat on there, haven't they? They've got a Galaxy projector lamp that projects stars onto your ceiling with music. It's controlled by your mobile phone app. 10 quid. So you could sell that for 50 quid, couldn't you, if you wanted to?
Well, you could, yes. And quite often you can do it without having to actually even touch the product as well, So it's a sort of thing that it only, all of these things are only right for the right people. So if you've got quite a bit of extra time and you're willing to put a bit of time into researching it and researching products, and it's a good idea to start with just one product and getting to know that, get to know who you can buy it from cheap, how you can sell it to, etc., and then gradually build up from that.
So maybe you want to start with their men's fibre ankle socks, because you can get those. 4 quid for 10 pairs. They sound like those are really annoying ones that keep slipping off your ankle and you get lost in your shoe. But you need to try them though, wouldn't you? If you're going to sell these things, you'd have to at least get one to try.
You'd hope. Yes.
Good. And then what you do you build a website for it. You have your special bamboo fibre men's. You try and get bambooanklesocks.com.
Yes, you would try.
And you package it up that way?
Yeah, well, I think you would, yes. And again, I think it's the sort of thing, it's useful to use social media, because you wouldn't want to spend more than you, obviously, it's a business, you want to keep your costs down. So you would probably try and sell as much as you can through social media, maybe through Instagram. Okay, you might sort of get a few ads on that, a few ads on Facebook, etc. And try to do it primarily on that. Just set up a website that people can go to from the social media advertising.
And then it's sent out. Right. How do you get it sent? So you don't have it delivered to you, because then you don't have the posting cost. So it gets sent from, presumably you are doing it mainly for drop shipping from China. So you just get AliExpress or whoever to deliver it to the address of what is now your customer.
Well, true, and there are websites like Shopify and or Bello that basically run it for you, and this is a burgeoning industry. I mean, for actual proper industry, actual proper businesses, drop shipping, companies, sort of fulfillment companies are a massively growing industry, I think, at the moment. I've spoken to one or two, and they're growing and growing because there are so many individuals and companies that need a company simply to do all the fulfillment, as they call it, all the taking the orders, doing the wrapping up and sending.
So you're not just
delivering.
So you're not just retagging something from AliExpress. You're getting an intermediary to do.
You probably are. Yes, yes. That would be the main. That would certainly be the most efficient way to do it.
Right. Okay. And then translating stuff into English, because I'm looking at the Yongro Tonometer Automatic Wrist Digital Blood Pressure Monitor.
Gosh.
Which says 24-hour ambulatory blood pressure level, nocturnal blood pressure level, and capital A for no reason, random capitalizing, and the relationship between blood pressure levels and cardiovascular and cerebrovascular disease risk in the morning is even more intimate and significant. It was going quite well, and then all of a sudden it just lost itself there, didn't it?
I love it.
But
Yeah,
look, if you've got a slightly better command of the English language, then maybe you'll do quite well on that. All right.
Well, you could. Yeah, Google Translate's pretty good as well, to be fair.
All right. Well, there's another opportunity. I guess if you've got a it helps if you've got a specialism, doesn't it? Really.
Yes.
But, it's like importing. So I've got a friend of mine who imports materials, and she sells them. So she sells them online. And of course, you build up your network of people who are interested in the stuff that you've got to sell. So you've got to specialize. You can't just recreate the. Well, maybe you could. Maybe
Amazon. Yeah.
Yeah, like the Dobby Tat Shop. I've already given you the front page there with the ankle socks, the digital blood pressure monitor, and the projector lamp. I could also throw in a hair clipper for your dog for £9.17. What a bargain!
Yes. Yeah, you have to pick your products, definitely. And as you say, get a niche, and then it's possible that you've got buyers coming back and back because they know that you're going to sell that kind of thing.
We're talking for way too long, but we're having so much fun. That's the problem.
Yes.
Freelancing, you've suggested as well. For some of us, that's not a choice. It's just because no one else wants to give us a job. But if you've got a job, but you've got a bit of time on the side, then a bit of freelancing.
Well, absolutely. And again, it really depends, as you say, on what your specialism is, what your knowledge is. And freelancing covers a multitude again. So, it could be obviously like us, writing or speaking or broadcasting or whatever. It could be hairdressing. It could be cooking, could be building, could be tutoring. There's a whole host of things, and again, on Money Magpie, we just essentially say, what have you got in the house? What have you got? Space? Have you got time? Have you got things that you could sell? Have you got skills that you could sell for money? And everybody's got something. So, for example, if you've got time and you live in or near a city, I would say start being go to some of the walk-on agencies, do some walk-on work at films and TV programs. That's about £100 a day, and much of the time you're just sitting around and you get really nice food. Really nice food. I've done that.
The food theme again. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's still in my head.
Bill Gates
I've done
isn't backing. It was not Bill Gates, was it? Oh yeah, it was Bill Gates who got this thing. Just make sure he's not backing it. That's all.
Yes, exactly. As long as he's not backing it, as long as the food's nice, it's fine for me. That's fine for me.
Covered there. So look, I put
in my contract.
One idea is as well. I don't know if it's fashionable these days, but those print-on-demand places that do T-shirts and stuff.
Oh yes.
I've often thought if you could come up with a witty line. And use that through social media. You could probably make a bit of money out of that as well. You
definitely could. Yes, and particularly with the you could have something sort of pandemic related. So if you can come up with, as you say,
I'm vaccinated.
I'm vaccinated.
If you've been vaccinated, just wear a T-shirt going, "I'm vaccinated." Everyone will feel very comfortable around you. We don't need track and trace. Just get the T-shirt. Don't you reckon? Absolutely.
Yes, that would work. I think that absolutely would work.
And
why not? So,
I was thinking Prince Philip, his famous line, when he was the photographers were taking a long time and he just went, "Oh, just get on with it." I was thinking you could just have a "Just Get On With It" T-shirt to celebrate Prince Philip.
With his picture on.
With his picture.
Yeah,
that would be like the Nike version of "Just Do It." It's like the modern day, just get on with it. So there's something else that you could make money out of.
Yes.
But nothing to do.
There are some real weird ones as well. We specialise also in the weird ways to make. In fact, we've got a few articles called 15 weird ways to make money. You wouldn't believe how many. There's things like being a professional mourner. That is a thing. It's very much a thing in the East, really. It's a sort of an Asian, Middle Eastern thing, but it's coming over here as well, where you can actually make money being paid to go to people's funerals.
Well, someone who's not very popular.
Right. Absolutely. Bulk up the mourners. Huge one, hugely popular, and I have to admit, that I did read about this, so I thought, we should do an article on this: how to make money selling used knickers. Massively popular article, that one. Can't tell you. Yeah.
That sounds.
Anyway, yes.
That's not just because someone wants a pair of knickers and they can't afford a normal pair. No. Right. Okay.
No, that's
cool.
That's.
I don't think anyone's going to be getting mine.
No.
I think I can make much money that way. Yeah. All right. Well, there we are. That's
selling your hair.
Selling your hair.
Yes, selling your hair. Yeah, you can if you've got your long enough hair, you can cut it off and sell it for per ounce.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, something that I'm not going to be very successful at, I suspect. So, look, let's move off this because it's going down a very dangerous. I'm not liking where it's going. Yeah. So, very quickly before you go, there was this because you liked this, didn't you? You wanted us to talk about this today. There's this company, Anyvan. They're like it. We've got a plug-in, and they've done analysis of removal quotes, and some interesting findings they found.
Yes, apart from the fact that fairly obviously 3 times as many people moved out of the city to rural locations as the opposite way round in 2020. Excuse me. Apparently people are taking more and more stuff with them when they go. So, my sense of moving house, you basically take all your furniture or all your stuff, and you might leave a few bits of furniture and pretty obviously, I think you'd leave the stuff in the kitchen. But no, apparently 150 people last year literally took their kitchen sink with them. Why would you do that? Why, how exactly? How would you remove your kitchen sink and how do you know it's going to fit in the new place? But they did. And not only that, but over 400 people also took their compost heap. So...
Well, I mean, I know that in some places, like in Germany, for example, when you rent a place, the kitchen isn't included.
No, true.
So you have to, so if you're moving house, you've got to take your cooker with you and all that sort of stuff, which is fair enough, I guess. But that is peculiar, isn't it, really?
Isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
And a load of them taking the garden shed with them. It's like, oh, come on.
Well, there we are.
Starting anew.
Yeah. So, you're right, all moving out into the country, aren't we? So that TV show, Escape to the Country, is, it's like, well, that's just the way things are now. I mean, it needs its own TV channel really for that. But do you think we'll move back? I think we're going to move back. I think there's
I think we will.
If you're a TV producer listening in to this, I think reverting back to the city is going to be the next big series.
I really do. Moving back to the city, going back to the office. People, I've been freelance all of my career, and I've worked from home. I've worked from cafes. I have a workspace now. You can't. We're not made to be at home all the time. We are social animals. We need the office to just go. Oh, did you see that thing on last night? Whatever. Just have a bit of a chat and say, oh, look at him. We can't manage without some sort of communal working space, I think. So, we will be coming back and we will be going back into the office, I think.
Well, Jasmine Birtles from moneymagpie.com and also notbillgatesagain.com. It's been, it's been, if you haven't set that one up yet, I think the URL is still available. Good to talk. We'll catch you again very soon. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Look, she could talk, can't she? Look, we're well over time. We're going to have to finish it all now. Back tomorrow for another one. I'm Phil Dobby. Thanks for listening.